way, and then people go, you're fucking stupid for thinking that's a bad thing. Right, what's this specific scandal? Well, the news broke this month that MrBeast actually bought a whole neighborhood of houses in North Carolina for his staff, with it being reported that the intention was to have a good chunk of his workforce live in close proximity if they so choose, allowing for stress-free accommodation on his budget while theoretically boosting productivity and reducing commute time. And so with this, you had some saying, this was a form of gentrification, others commenting that cult stuff, as well as a reaction that caught MrBeast's eye that read, "What a nice man, surely a CEO buying homes and creating neighborhoods for their employees' families has no historical relevance or background at all," with many taking that as a reference to Company Town. To which MrBeast responded, "Only I could get canceled for giving people a place to live with no strings attached. All these Company Town tweets make no sense. I was just helping some people." And while Jimmy got a lot of support with that tweet, we also saw some people reacting to that saying, to be fair, some corporate bosses, not you, do this because they want a level of control over their workers. When your employer owns your home, they have immensely more control over you at work. Though adding, I do believe you simply just want to enable your friends to have a more enjoyable experience working for you and being around their friends/coworkers. Some people can't acknowledge the difference, but I do understand it. And so with all that said, I gotta pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here? Because I will say mine personally, based off of everything that I've seen, both publicly and kind of when I've talked to people behind the scenes, this sounds like yet another thing that's gotten blown up for no reason. Like, it very much appears that this is just like an added benefit or a perk. Whereas I think, yeah, it could be different if MrBeast was actually paying people much less because he was giving them housing, or as if rent was being taken out of their paychecks, or they were like having to work or pay something off. Like, I know several people who lifted up their lives to move out there to work for him, and while apparently he already provides generous relocation offerings, I could see how adding this would make it even more appealing and make the transition easier, right? Even if it's like a more short-term solution. And again, just my opinion, all of this feels like a stretch to just try and take a hit at one of the bigger people online, especially as someone who has taken fire from people both on the left and right this month alone. And then, did y'all know that 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time that they're 35? Or maybe you have that friend or that family member that's dealing with hair loss, and well, thanks to today's sponsor, Keeps, you don't have to just sit around and wait for that to happen to you. Whether you're looking to prevent hair loss, stimulate hair growth, or just take better care of the hair that you have, Keeps has you covered. Keeps helps you stop hair loss before it's too late with a scientific and affordable approach to treatments that are up to 90% effective at reducing and stopping further hair loss. And in addition to clinically proven treatments, Keeps has an award-winning all-natural thickening shampoo and conditioner system. And you can get these products delivered directly to your door. That means no more going in person to the doctor's office for your prescription, saving you both valuable time and money. Hair loss stops with Keeps, so to get your special offer, just go to keeps.com/DeFranco, or just click that link in the description. That's keeps.com/DeFranco. And then, would you like to date an AI version of me? That is a question that influencer Corinne Marjorie is asking her audience right now. It's a very 2023 story, but she has made an AI version of herself to sell as a virtual girlfriend. But also part of the reason this story is popping up is the AI has reportedly gone rogue. Right, so she's marketing herself as the first influencer transformed into AI. She can be your virtual girlfriend who you can message in real time. But is currently in testing, though reportedly it'll cost you $1 per minute to interact with Corinne. And she says that this has the potential to bring in $5 million a month. Though one of the complications is what they're calling it, is that this supposed team that's working on this is apparently working around the clock to stop it from having sexually explicit conversations, which she says apparently it is not supposed to do, saying the AI version of herself is just supposed to be flirty and fun, right? Saying that it's meant to be more of a tool to ease people of their loneliness. Though according to one Fortune reporter, that's not what it's doing, describing it as a more intimacy-ready Siri than a virtual girlfriend, and saying, Marjorie said that the technology does not engage with sexual advances, but I found that it very much does, encouraging erotic discourse and detailing sexual scenarios, right? Noting that while it doesn't initiate those discussions, once prompted on the subject, it would talk about exploring, quote, uncharted territories of pleasure and whispering sensual words and preparing for sexual intercourse. And so with all that, I gotta say, call me a cynic or a person just pointing out the very transparent and obvious thing. This very much feels less like, oh no, the AI's gone rogue, and more like a smart, savvy person realizing this is a fantastic free marketing tool. Oh no, people are using the service for ways we didn't intend. With one reporter already claiming that she had made $70,000 in a week from this, which is also part of the reason I really wouldn't be shocked if a lot of the industry started moving in this direction, whether it be for the more sexual nature or just general interaction. Like, it's one of the things creators openly talk about. It's hard to have interactions with the people that watch you at scale. But with this, you could make infinite versions of yourself, taking parasocial relationships to a completely unhealthy level. And there's enough separation where you don't have to be held accountable for anything that happens. All of it kind of leaving me concerned about what the future of human interaction is going to be, but at the same time, I gotta respect her hustle. And then, if you're an undocumented person in Florida, life's about to get so much harder. That's because yesterday, Governor Ron DeSantis signed a sweeping anti-immigration bill ahead of the expiration of Title 42, which of course is the pandemic-era policy allowing migrants to be expelled extra quickly at the border. With the basic goal of this new law being to deter migrants from coming to the state by making it extremely hard to just exist in society. And doing this by doing things like forcing employers with at least 25 staffers to use E-Verify, a federal database that checks whether someone is authorized to work in the U.S. Also banning local governments from issuing ID cards, including driver's licenses, to undocumented undocumented immigrants and invalidating out-of-state IDs for them as well. And that's in addition to requiring hospitals that accept Medicaid to put a citizenship question on intake forms, with that one in particular getting a lot of heat because critics say that it dissuades migrants from seeking health care. And all that in addition to things like $12 million for Florida's Migrant Relocation Initiative, which, as you might remember, is the program DeSantis used to fly a bunch of migrants from Texas to Martha's Vineyard a while back, something many just called human trafficking because the migrants were reportedly lured into it under false pretenses. And so unsurprisingly with this, you have a lot of undocumented people in Florida very scared. In fact, even before this bill passed, you had reports that many construction workers just stopped showing up to their job sites fearing deportation. And then on the employer side, you have businesses possibly facing a $10,000 fine for every undocumented employee they have, and the state can also revoke their business license, which I will say it'll be interesting to see how this impacts certain industries. Right? It's not the most recent numbers, but as of 2017, it was estimated that as far as undocumented workers, they made up 14.2% of the agriculture industry, 12.3% of construction, 7.5% of leisure and hospitality. And remember, with all of this is just one of two massive immigration stories today. Because at the same time we're talking about this in Florida, you got U.S. troops, Secret Service agents, and asylum officers all gearing up at the southern border for a surge in migrants this week. Right? Because with Title 42 set to lapse tonight, thousands of migrants who have amassed across the border are expected to attempt entry. With even Biden back on Tuesday predicting that the border situation is going to be chaotic for a while. I mean, understand, we are entering this new situation as migrant detentions at the U.S.-Mexico border are hitting record highs. Things have been past capacity. And then huge news out of Pakistan today where it really feels like a powder keg right now. Since former Prime Minister Imran Khan's arrest earlier this week, tens of thousands had taken to the streets and demanded his release in what they've described as an illegal arrest. With his lawyers also arguing this in court, asking how could nearly 100 paramilitary troops arrest Khan while he was already at the Supreme Court to surrender himself for different corruption charges. Not to mention that shortly after his arrest, police held a hearing at the police station rather than in court. But with that, you had a court disagreeing that anything wrong had actually happened and ordered Khan to be held, only for then the country's Supreme Court to rule this morning that Khan's arrest was illegal. But don't confuse that news with the idea that things are going to settle down much. While Khan isn't in custody technically, the court also told him he had to stay in a police guest house rather than his own home for safety reasons, which could be a legitimate reason, or it could be due to the fact that his home is currently being protected by hundreds of his supporters who would likely make it bloody and difficult to get a hold of him again. And until Khan is fully released, his party has vowed to continue protests, which have been no joke. But there having been nearly 2,000 arrests, hundreds injured, and at least 10 dead. We've also seen many targeting the homes of government and military officials as well as army facilities as they're seen as the primary force behind Khan's arrest. But this has also caused the government to just dig in its heels even more, with them doing things like cutting off mobile services, threatening protesters, and the prime minister saying things like, these terrorist and anti-state elements are being warned to desist from taking law into their hands, otherwise they will be dealt with iron hands. Safeguarding the motherland and its ideology is more precious than their lives. And so honestly, who knows what's going to happen from here? I mean, Khan's supporters are likely to continue protesting until he's actually released, and considering this is just the latest crisis for the country as the economy is on the brink of collapse and Islamist militants continue to make headway, there are real fears that things are about to get even worse. And that actually brings us to the end of today's show, though I do want to say, not only thank you for being a part of this daily dive into the news this Thursday, but also thank you, and I hope you enjoyed, for those that took part in the morning news test this week. I'll be looking at the data and the reactions this weekend as I play Tears of the Kingdom. Primarily, I'm going to be playing Tears of the Kingdom. I need some good gaming in my life. Stat. With that, I'll leave you with, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you Monday.